Mr. Rexford, welcome to the committee.
Chairman Murkowski, Ranking Member Cantwell, members of the committee, thank you for the invitation to speak to you today. My name is Matthew Rexford, and I serve as the tribal administrator for the Native Village of Kaktovik. I am also the president of the Kaktovik Inupiat Corporation. Both NVK and KIC serve as members of the Voice of the Arctic Inupiat, along with 18 other North Slope entities. I was raised and live in Kaktovik, Alaska, located inside the 1002 area of Anwar. All of the organizations I previously mentioned, NVK, KIC, Voice, support oil and gas development there. Approximately 92,000 acres of surface lands in and around the community are owned by the Kaktovik Inupiat Corporation, our village corporation. These lands are within and are then surrounded by Anwar. We are an island in the middle of the largest wildlife refuge in America. Much of that land is also the ancestral home of the Inupiat. Our people are the indigenous inhabitants of the region and have used the resources it has blessed us with for more than 10,000 years. While many refer to the controversial section of Anwar as the 1002 area, this is the home of the Kaktovik Mute, the people of Kaktovik. The bowhead whale, caribou, Dall sheep, musk oxen, and the fish of the region are a vital food source to the Kaktovik Mute. Another of those natural resources is oil and gas, and lots of it. We rely on the bounty of the land and find sustenance within Anwar. Since the mid-1980s, our people have fought unsuccessfully to open our homelands to responsible exploration and development. At the same time, Lower 48 lawmakers and special interest groups in the country have waged war on the idea, citing the disruption of wildlife and the pristine Arctic environment. Kaktovik Mute and the Arctic Inupiat will not become conservation refugees. We do not approve of efforts to turn our homeland into one giant national park, which literally guarantees us a fate with no economy, no jobs, reduced subsistence, and no hope for the future of our people. We are already being impacted by restrictions of access to the federal lands for subsistence purposes. As Anwar debates occur, the views of the Kaktovik Mute are often left out. In fact, this is precisely why the leadership of the Arctic Slope region created Voice in 2015. We were tired of outsiders living thousands of miles away, speaking on our behalf, and driving Arctic policy decisions that directly affect us and our communities. My fellow Inupiat and I firmly believe in a social license to operate, and perhaps no other potential project in the history of America has called for such a blessing from local indigenous peoples more than this one. We Inupiat have the benefit of decades of experience working with the oil and gas industry to implement stringent regulations to protect the lands through best management practices, and the industry consistently has lived up to our standards. We know development in Anwar can be done safely because it's already being done safely all over the Arctic. We think that now is the time to open Anwar to measured exploration and development for the benefit of our community, all of Alaska, and the nation. Thank you.
Mr. Rexford, thank you. And thank you to each of you on the panel here this morning. We'll now begin with a round of questions, 5 minutes to each member here. Mr. Rexford, I want to begin with you, if I may. And I do so because I believe that you are right in your statement that so often the voice of the people who actually live within the 1002 area, the area that we are speaking about today, are often either not heard or just overwhelmed by outside voices. I think people are often surprised when they realize that there is a village within the 1002 area, that there are people who live there, that the community of Kaktovik you fly into and that there's an airstrip there, that you have a school for your children, you have a community hall, you have a store where I think most who go in are shocked and horrified by the prices, but that you live and work and raise your families within the 1002 area. And I think oftentimes, and I go back to the map that I showed initially, this is an area the size of the ANWR is an area the size of the state of California. The 1002 area is an area the size of Delaware. But there is one village in Delaware, and that village of Kaktovik is the home to you and your family and to others. Can you provide for the community a little bit of the expectation that the people of Kaktovik might have from the development of the 1002 area? Again, we're talking about a small piece. You've seen development at Point Thompson, which is just 45 miles from the village of Kaktovik. If you can put it in context, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Murkowski. Yes, the benefits to the community of Kaktovik will be a lot because the North Slope Borough has a tax base, and that is our regional municipal borough who taxes industry, and that provides the infrastructure that has provided so much to our communities. It provided us roads, houses, schools, clinics, be able to flush our toilets. And so, yes, the benefits, we've seen the benefits, and we do not want to go backwards. We do not want to hinder the economy of the North Slope Borough.
Thank you, Matthew. I remind people that your kids, what you're hoping for your children is no different than mine or anybody else. You want them to be well educated. You want them to have a good future. Lieutenant Governor, I'd like to ask you a question. You've spoken very passionately here, as you have in other forums, about subsistence and the identity that it is to our Alaska Native people throughout our state, whether you're up north in the 1002 area or down in Yakutat in your home community. Many will say that a subsistence lifestyle and an opportunity to access the 1002 area are not consistent, that there is an inconsistency here, that it cannot be done. Why do you believe that ANWR development within the 1002 area can occur without negatively impacting whether the porcupine caribou herd or the native subsistence way of life?
In the some 40 years of development of the Arctic for oil and gas production, the resources have been both stable and have grown and waned as their biological cycles determine. Particularly the caribou resource has grown. It has moved generally, as it always has in that region. The impact of development has been carefully managed and constrained. The management by Alaska of both the petroleum resource and the renewable natural resources, particularly fish and game, has been, as Senator Sullivan, a former Commissioner of Natural Resources of our state and Attorney General of our state, has emphasized, has been of the highest order. The priority for subsistence use of our fish and game resources is the highest statutory priority in our state. As I indicated, it is something that I personally have fought for my entire life And whether it is the Gwich'in, the Inuit, the Tlingit, or any other rural user group of our natural resources, the state of Alaska has that management and that responsibility as its highest priority, and we will continue to fight for it.